some different tactics and put them into more or less of a quasi system of what I have been able to pull from each of these awesome speakers and different masterminds that we've had. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm happy to put this on the BCP page for anyone who wants it. So, no need to ask. I'm more than happy to do that. So I kind of just took a little bit of information from everyone, and I want to walk you guys through this and then get your feedback on what you think. So a lot of people are talking about getting to the point of having a one-on-one showing, and do I wear masks, gloves, all of that. But there are so many things that we've learned you can do before you ever get to the point where you actually have to have a one-on-one in-person showing. So I wanted to talk about those things and kind of give you a little bit of a list. So first and foremost, we've been starting a lot of these calls with one of our mortgage representatives. Get your client pre-approved. Why are you even thinking about showing a home to any of your clients if they're not pre-approved? And as Shane said on just a little while ago, there's even a step beyond getting them pre-approved where the mortgage companies are collecting all of their information, running their credit, getting their license, getting all of their documents. So now not only are they ready to purchase a home, but they actually have gone through the process of verifying the paperwork as well. And at that point, you're working with what I call a pre-committed buyer. I don't know if that's the correct term. Sounds like Shane had a different term for it. But you know that your client is ready, willing, and able to purchase. At that point, you can then do a buyer's consultation. In my personal opinion, and I could be wrong, I wouldn't even waste my time having an hour-long consultation with someone who's not even willing to talk to someone about what they can afford. So I've actually gone ahead and attached to this document my personal buyer's consultation that I used to use in my business. And you'll see that this is not something that is, how many bedrooms do you want? How many bathrooms do you want? This is more talking about things like, who's going to be living in the home? Does anyone come and stay there? Tell me about your lifestyle. What do you enjoy doing at home? Let's really dive deep into someone's actual needs for a home, because you as a real estate agent, especially in this process of virtual showings, have to keep yourself as the professional in the middle of the transaction. So if you're just sending links and letting them off to their own devices, that's not you being a true fiduciary and a professional. So you really need to dive deep into what your client is looking for, not just in a property, but in a neighborhood. Do you have pets? Do you want to be close to certain things? Tell me about the location, schools, go through every aspect of the house. I mean, this is a pretty lengthy conversation that you're going to have with your clients in order to figure out exactly what it is that they need. So I'm happy to share this with all of you guys so that you can do these conversations, because it is so easy. As you guys have all gotten so comfortable with Zoom, it's easy to get on Zoom and have a conversation. It's nice to see people face to face. I'm able to look at all of you guys right now and see who's hiding your faces, and I see you. But once you've done a buyer's consultation, you're now able to narrow down those neighborhoods. So I can't tell you how many people have said, listen, I want to be within 40 minutes of my job. 40 minutes of your job, that's a huge location. So let's narrow that down. And one of the great strategies that you have is to send neighborhood snaps through Command. So if you go into a client's contact card on Command, you can see all of these different options to add neighborhoods, and you can send them information about different neighborhoods. Now, when you send someone information about a neighborhood, they're not just getting the homes. They're getting school information. They're getting information about local restaurants. They're pulling information from Yelp. They're getting walkability scores. And one of the best parts about these neighborhood snaps, as we call them, is that, and I'm sorry, every time I scroll up, the little drop down appears and it wants me to stop sharing my screen. So that's why it's taking so long to click between these tabs. But every time you have somebody who looks at one of those neighborhood snaps, you get an alert on Command. So you're able to see, you can see here, this is my own contact card. I viewed the market neighborhood snap. You can see exactly when they were on, how long they were on for, whether they looked at different collections. So not only do you have a way to send information to your clients about neighborhoods, you also have a way of knowing whether or not they actually even read it. Why are you taking somebody out to see a property in a neighborhood they said they like when they haven't even done any research on the neighborhood? So that to me would be step 3. Once you've narrowed down a neighborhood, now you're able to send out properties. A lot of people love to send out properties through the MLS. I personally like to use Command. When you send properties through Command, again, you have that opportunity to see what properties they're looking at. So if I just search one zip code in my area, this is what the client gets to see. They can see all of the properties in that area and beyond. And as they look through these, you're going to get alerts at which ones they've looked at, which ones they've favorited, where they've spent the most time. So these are valuable insights that as your client is looking through different properties, you're able to communicate with them much easier. And in this virtual environment, you're going to need this. And the beauty of it is that if there are any virtual tours that are already in the MLS, you'll see a little button down here that says virtual tour. So that's part of the beauty of it. So now you've sent your client some properties, you've narrowed down the neighborhood, you know exactly what they're looking for, and they've told you, hey, I'm interested in these 5 properties. Now step 5 is to go and get as much information as humanly possible from the listing agent. And I'm sure you guys know, I don't have to tell you, but as an agent, when I had properties listed, it was few and far between that I got a call from the agent before they requested to show the property, asking me about the property. And there have been some tricky properties that I've had, properties on private roads that if I had just had the chance to explain that, then we could have avoided a showing where the client would have immediately said, I don't want a property on a private road. Whatever that looks like, call up the listing agent and talk to them and get as much information about the property as humanly possible, because that way you can educate your client. Now we've gotten to the point where we're going to show it virtually. So a lot of people have asked me what that looks like. So there are a couple different options, in my opinion, of what a virtual showing looks like. For a lot of these properties, you do have some form of 3D tour, whether it's an iGuide or a Matterport or whatever that looks like. And I would strongly encourage you guys, don't just send your client the link. You want to stay in the transaction. So for example, I'll show you this iGuide for one of a property that I had listed. And this is what your client is going to see if you just go ahead and send them the link. Now, I don't know about you, but when I look at this as a consumer, this is cool, this is interesting, but I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to navigate this. I don't know what I'm doing. So I would encourage you, instead of just sending the links to your clients, be the person who's still going to show them the house. Jump on Zoom, just like we're doing right now, and say, let me walk you through this house. Right now, we're standing at the front door. As you can see from this property, this is a center hall colonial, which means you have the staircase in the middle. On the right, you're going to have a series of rooms, and on the left, you can see that over here. Walk them through the property. You already spoke to the listing agent. You already know that these floors were just redone. And even though you can't see how shiny they are in this particular view, you can educate your client on exactly what's happening in this property as you virtually walk them through it. I know from looking at the statistics of and the data of how long people were on my particular iGuides, I know that consumers only stay on this for about 2.5 minutes. This is a 5,500 square foot house. You mean to tell me my clients were able to see this in 2.5 minutes? Not a chance. So be the real estate agent, walk them through virtually, talk about the different features of the home, and now you've given them a real virtual tour. Now, I understand that a lot of people are not going to have that as an option because the 3D tours are just now starting to come to light, even though they've been around for a while. So if that's not an option for you, go to option 2. Ask the agent to go and do a video walkthrough of the property. And we're not talking about a promo video here. We're not talking about the 2.5-minute video that so many people have that they put on their Facebook and say, new listing. I'm talking about asking the listing agent, can you go with your phone? It's 2020. My phone has 2 cameras. I've seen people with phones with 4 cameras. We have amazing technology. Go stand in the middle of the room, slowly do a circle, and then walk to the next room. Can you do that for me and please send it to my client? It's going to be 10 to 15 minutes long because that's what a showing is supposed to be. That way you can take the information that you have from the MLS and from the listing agent and give them a thorough walkthrough. Pause it, watch it with them, pause it, tell them about what they're seeing, tell them about the appliances, tell them about the new whatever it is. So that's kind of option number 2. If the listing agent's not willing to do it, explain it to them. Ask them to ask their seller to do it. There's no reason for you guys to go to the house until you've been able to show your client the house in some capacity. Step 7, look at all these steps that we're able to do before we show a property, is Google Earth. And we were so blessed to have David Axelrod get on the other day and talk about the power of Google Earth. It's so cool. And again, it's a little complicated. People go on Google Earth and they say, this is so cool. And then they don't know what to do with it. So play around with Google Earth. Just like your job before was to preview properties, your job now is to learn Google Earth and 3D tours. So with something like this, you can see the inside of the property. These are 2 different properties, by the way. But you might not be able to see the outside of the property because the 3D tours almost never cover that. So walk them through the neighborhood, walk them through the area, show them what it looks like, explain to them this entire side yard is yours. You have parking on the street. Now you want to be aware this is on a corner, but it's great because you have a park right across from here. Get on a Zoom call, walk them through the property, walk them around the property as best as you can. This is a beautiful tool that you have. And whether you're getting into some very advanced techniques like what David was showing us, and I think he either did a class or is doing a class, so we should have the recording of that. Play around with this, learn these tools, because in this day and age, this is going to be what's going to help set you apart. Talk about the proximity to certain things, talk about the neighborhood, stuff like that. So now you've gotten to the point where your client says, yes, I like it, I want to see it in person. Make a simple request. There's no open houses right now. Please take your Sunday and go drive by the homes that you think you're interested in. Because even though I showed them Google Earth of what the property is like, there could be a sewage field right down here that I'm not showing them that they smell as soon as they get to the area and say, this is crazy. Or there could be, this house is actually a frat house that looks great on video, or on Google Earth rather, but it's very loud. Who knows? Have them drive by the property. If they're not willing to get in their car, trust me, anyone's willing to get in their car and go for a drive right now. Like, I've been in the house for 5 weeks straight. I'm happy to go for a drive. Have them go look at the property and see it with their own eyes and drive around. At that point, you have the option to either do a FaceTime showing where you are physically going to the property by yourself, calling them on FaceTime and walking them through the property, or at that point you can have an in-person showing, because at that point you have a client who's ready to go, likes the neighborhood, is educated on the neighborhood, likes the property, knows all that they can know from the seller about the property, has seen it as much as humanly possible on the virtual tours, has seen the outside, has seen the neighborhood. Now it's very close to a 90% chance that they're going to be putting in an offer on the property. So I know we've talked a lot about what a virtual showing is. This, in my mind, is a virtual showing. I'm not even thinking about doing an in-person showing until I've taken these steps. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. If there's stuff that we can add to it, if there are things that you think are challenging, I would love to hear. I'm sure there's probably some questions in chat. So I'll stop sharing my screen here.
Yeah. So the first one was, can you tell us how to set up an iGuide? Is that something your professional photographer did?
Yeah. So an iGuide is just like any kind of 3D tour that is offered through the photographers. So there are a lot of photographers that will offer Matterports or whatever. There's also, we got this great information from Erin Wheelock on our New York City mastermind, because obviously in New York, they can't get to step 10. They can only do steps 1 through 9. So she was talking about a certain kind of camera. I'll go ahead and I'll put that in the chat that you can buy. It is pricey. It's like around $800, but you can set it up on a tripod to do the 3D pictures and do 3D tours as you're representing the seller. This is more from the perspective of the buyer, but basically iGuide is just another version of a Matterport or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. We have another question. Do we know how up to date Google Earth is?
Google Earth is going to depend on the area. So the one that I just showed you, it was as of 2020. So that means those pictures have been taken in the last, 4 months. But Google Earth, I don't know about you guys, but I've personally seen the Google Earth car. How many of you guys have seen the Google Earth car driving around? It's kind of cool. It's got like a giant like orb on top with all the lenses to take the pictures. It's active, but they can only cover so much. So I would say in the grand scheme of things, all of the maps and the data are probably within the last 5 to 10 years.
Okay. And then what MLS is Command using?
Command pulls from all MLSs. So really the only big challenge is New York City.
Okay. And then there's one more question that says, would you use a 360 cam for iGuide?
Well, iGuide is its own product. So some photographers will have iGuide, some won't, but some will offer some other version of it. There's different names of it. But you can use that 3D camera. There are tons of them. I mean, in theory, you could buy your own Matterport camera. It's just that it's very, very expensive. It's probably more cost effective to just have a photographer do it, unless you're going to be listing a certain number of homes per year, and then you could figure out the value of it. But I would say that there are tons of different ways to do it. At a very base level, like I said, this camera is very good. It's extremely good. Stand in the middle if you're representing a seller. Stand in the middle of a room. Do a slow circle. Don't talk. You're not doing a promo video here. Do a circle and then slowly walk to the next room. It's not that hard. Do the best you can to educate people as much as humanly possible before you get to the point where you're considering having a physical showing.
And I think Chris has his hand raised. I think he's unmuted, so you can ask your question.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was wondering, I know we're relatively early in this process, but do we have many examples of buyers who have actually placed offers and homes going under attorney review based upon these virtual showings?
Well, yes and no. I think that in New Jersey, and this is not based on any statistics, it's just my inference based on talking to agents. I think in New Jersey, we are seeing that last step of having one-on-one showings happen. In New York, one-on-one showings, even one-on-one, are not permitted. And I can assure you that the number of homes that went under contract in New York was not zero. So someone's making it happen.
Okay.
It's just a matter of getting to the point that you're able to educate your client on every other facet that they feel comfortable enough putting in an offer on a property sight unseen.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
We have another question in the chat that says, any recommendation for an application for virtual tours?
Well, I would say if you have a relationship with a photographer already, see what they're offering. I mean, this is their lifeblood too. So a lot of photographers are coming up with different things, whether they're tapping into Matterport or they're coming up with a cheaper option like an iGuide or something like that. There are a ton of different cameras and companies that you can do it yourself. It's just a matter of finding which one's going to be the most cost effective for you. And the one that Erin Wheelock shared, like I said, I'll put that in the chat. I can actually probably pull it up right now and tell you exactly what that one was. Because she said she just bought it for herself. It worked out, and that's what she's been using. So let me just look right here really fast. And that one's called the Rico Theta. So I'll go ahead and I'll put all of this. There's actually a YouTube video that she shared with us with all of the best virtual tour cameras. So I'll share that with you guys as well. I'll put that in the chat right now. And we'll also add that to the comments when we post this video.
Yes. Sorry, we have a question from Karen. Other types of 360 cameras that are reasonable?
Yeah, I think that will be answered best by, you know, I'm not a virtual camera pro, but I think that this YouTube video that I just shared a bunch of links.
Yeah, I think that'll help it. Thank you.
Sure, yeah, the third to last one is best virtual tour cameras, and there's a whole YouTube video on it. So you should be able to get some information, and that's the one that
Post this on
Erin.
the link on BCP, right?
Absolutely, yep.
By the way, you do a great job.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Another question says, if the house is vacant and the seller agrees it's okay to show the house, can I show it to my clients?
If the house is vacant and the seller, yes, you just still have to get waivers.
I think that's all the questions.
But why would you want to? Why would you even want to go out of your house when you could show them? I could show you guys 5 houses in 10 minutes from right here. I don't even have to go anywhere. I could be a New Jersey realtor in New York, and it would be super effective because technology is amazing, you guys. So learn this technology. It's not that hard to play around with. It's kind of fun. Learn the features, educate your clients, jump on a Zoom. Do you know how impressed your clients are going to be when you're able to say, I work for a tech company that happens to sell real estate. Let me happen to sell you some real estate using technology. And I keep seeing the quote everywhere, and I love it. If you can choose your spouse online, you can choose your house online. Everyone's unmuting themselves and laughing.
That's why you can't hear all the laughter, because everyone's muted. I can see people's head moving.
Oh
up and
yes,
down.
they're dying of laughter. Karen, I see that you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just, well, it's a great thing to, hold on, let me turn on my camera. So it's a great thing to do that and to shop online, but I think the last thing somebody has to do is has to come in and feel the house. So if the house is vacant, it's a great thing to do. Or what I would do if I would pull all houses from the market that people still live in, because no one wants to do it. But if the house is vacant, I think by all means, you could do one-on-one. And about the photographer, I had a video edited today to one of my listings that came back on the market, and I have a very young, nice photographer. He's also a Keller Williams agent who did the video for me. It's like a walkthrough video with a drone. It's actually, it feels like you're in the house. So if you need, I can share his information.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. And at the end of the day,
I mean, even, I'm sorry to cut you,
Sure.
even when you do shop for a spouse, I mean, I haven't done that in 30 years, but you still have to meet them and see if the picture is not from like 30 years ago. So
Yeah.
having
And I would
somebody
say
that
that
I know.
the powers that be at the governmental level in New Jersey would agree with you. Unfortunately,
The last thing, I mean, you could do that. You can feel, actually, my clients went to buy their house in Florida, the people who just moved from Glen Rock, they did buy it online virtually, but they still had to go fly there to see the house feel it.
Right.
And then they bought it.
And keep in mind, I'm not at all saying don't show homes. I'm saying there are so many steps that you
Of course, and it's great.
Or
And I
getting
think
to
it's
that.
a great opportunity to be more technology oriented, like
Absolutely.
push us into it.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
Yeah,
Great job, thank you.
of
And
course.
welcome back, Al.
Thank you. Good to be back.
And if there's any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them. We are running a little short on time, but like I said, I'm going to share this little guide with you guys. And if it's helpful, great. If not, well, you can ignore it.